so excited today because not only are we live in my group Life Transformed, where you can take your everyday average life and live beyond the life most people are striving for, but you're also going to be on my podcast, Beyond Balance, which is a transformational podcast for entrepreneurs, teaching them how to make money around the life that they want to live instead of working their butts off to try and create that life. So I'm here with my friend Tina Torres, and I'm so excited. If you haven't seen Tina on social media, she is a complete rock star. I'm going to let her share her story with you. But I first met Tina a few years back when she invited me to be on her morning show, and we had a whole bunch of fun. And I've been following Tina, and we keep in touch all the time. And I think that she has a sunny destination in her future very, very soon.
Very soon.
Right? I'm like, she's like, all right, can I come visit? But I feel like, you know, the world has changed so quickly over the last couple of years, and we get to deep dive into the things that we love. If you really recognize and realize that you have absolute ownership of your life, that you can do whatever with it you want, you choose. I've seen you kind of evolve out of a network marketing space to build something of your own that you're super proud of, that you're really good at, that is your total passion. And now you get to help other people strive. And if people could just take that one piece, find something you're really gifted at, that you really love, that you get to wake up every day and are excited about, and then find the people that need that gift, find the people that want that gift and help them get what they want, you will live a very, very enriched life.
And don't try to do so much, right? Like, oh, I'm a coach and
Yeah.
I do this and I do this and I do this and I do this and I do this. Nobody's going to want you if you do that. And you're going to spread yourself so thin. So you're absolutely right. When you have that little thing, whatever that little thing is, become an expert at it, and then find those 50 people that want to do it.
You can help. That's right. 100%, Tina. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about who you are. Like, tell people where you're from, tell them a little bit about you. And this woman is such a rock star. Like, I'm telling you, if you ever have been interested in writing a book, listen to everything she says and take notes.
Take notes, because she will.
Okay, go ahead, my friend.
Torres, I appreciate you bringing me on, Christina. Oh my God, Christina, you're like the joy. When I see your videos or anything like that through on TikTok or whatever, it stops. You know, I stop the scroll, and because I want to know what you're saying. I want to know who you are. I want to know, everything about you. And the past couple of months and the past couple of years, I was able to get to know you, and I just adore you. And I am so in awe of what you did with your family. 18 months ago?
Yeah, almost 18 months ago now.
18 months ago. And I kind of remember this conversation you and I had before the talk show, before we had you on the talk show, and you were in Canada, and you were telling me about this apple orchard, and then you were doing all these things. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's so interesting. And you're like, I moved to Cabo.
Then we sold it all.
I'm like, what?
Hey man, life is in chapters, right? Like, and this is what I wish people, didn't take so hard when things don't work out, or you have a realization that, hey, this isn't actually the right path or the right thing. Be quick to make decisions and do something different. Don't dig in and be like, I'm a failure. This doesn't work out. This isn't for me. Oh my God, what did I do? Like, why live that way? Just adjust course.
And you have 26 letters in the alphabet. You can go plan A to plan Z.
I think we're on like G.
Because weren't you a bartender at one point?
Yep. Bartender and a hairstylist. I had a salon and wedding business, all that kind of stuff, right? But this is life. This is life now.
And it was before coaching. It was before network marketing. It was before all these things, Mm-hmm. And, so many of us, like me and like Christina, all have lives before this, right? And you guys stay to the end of this little interview. Christina and I have a little thing to share with you guys.
I'm pretty excited
about that subject. But I'm Tina Torres. I'm a self-publishing expert, and I hope you get your story out. Unlock your story that you have in you, with whether it's a trial that you had to go through, a divorce, a marriage, loss of a child, drug addiction. I mean, all of these things, you can take it and then turn it into some kind of a triumph. And I don't know about you guys, but I am a full believer in Jesus Christ. And I was in church one time, and I'm sitting there in church and he's talking about something, right? And I'm like, did he read my journal? Like he's talking to me. Oh my gosh. Like, did you say anything to him? Because he's talking to me. Like the things that I was going through at that very moment, he was telling me. And I mentioned it to somebody and they're like, oh my gosh, Tina, I thought he was talking to me. And I went, wait, what? Because I feel like this too. And I went, oh. And so when you have a story to tell, something like that, you don't know who else you can help, right? Like one thing that I always tell my clients is, if you can help one person, if you can change one person's life by writing your story or by sharing your story, would it all be worth it? Would this all be worth it of you, crying and writing all your stuff down and emptying out your heart and your thoughts onto paper? If somebody else were to read that and it helped them, it saved their life, it got them out of the marriage that they didn't want to be in, it got them into a network marketing company, it made them get off their butt and do something, would it be worth it to you? And every single one of them have said yes. So like you, I have pivoted my business and, did the gratitude thing and all that kind of stuff. And I'm still doing that. I'm still the gratitude specialist, but now I'm helping you unlock your story. And now I'm helping you bring your story to light. And I do it from A to Z. Like all you have to do is write your book. And I edit, I format, I do like the entire thing for you. It's a done with you, done for you program and package. And it's 120 days. So in 120 days, you can become a best-selling author.
And how many best-selling authors have you had?
27. In fact,
27.
not even bestsellers. They were #1 bestsellers.
Number 1 bestsellers. There is a formula to these things, right? And so who I want you to speak to right now is, because Tina, I have people in my inbox that have seen, I haven't written a whole book by myself. We've already talked about that. I've written a few chapters and been part of collaboration books, right? And so there's been people that have been in my inbox and said, I've always wanted to write a book. I've always wanted to write a book. And what always comes next is, I'm not ready yet. They don't think that their story is good enough. And like, they see you sitting here put together #1 best-selling author, like, right? But what did you come from to do that? Like, everybody's story, like, people are freaking interesting. If you don't think people are interesting, it's because you haven't taken the time to listen.
Yeah. And you have
right?
to ears in one mouth for a reason.
Right. And so often people will just count themselves out and be like, what I've gone through isn't enough, or it's not a big enough story, or, they'll start going through the Rolodex of reasons of why they shouldn't do it or why they're not ready to do it. So can you speak to those people right now that have always had that gift in their heart and like a want and a need to do this?
Oh my gosh. That was me 4 years ago or 3.5 years ago when quarantine hit, right? I had already been writing my first book. And back up 1 year later, I got a divorce after being in a very bad narcissist abusive marriage for 20 years. I became an empty nester when my youngest son decided to join the United States Army. I lost a 6-figure corporate job. I moved to a state where I knew no one at all. And I had family turn on me when I needed them the most, all in a 6-month period of time. And I fell into a very, very, very bad depression. And I felt like I had nobody. Even like friends of mine, like, everybody, I would try to like reach out and they wouldn't be available or whatever.
Oh, I wish I knew then.
Right? Like it was a very hard time. And there's so many people who have gone through this, right? Like, so if you have those friends, and they're calling you out of the blue, pick the phone up because
they need you,
right? Like, and so it took about like 90 days, but during those 90 days, and I was already the gratitude specialist, like I was already Tina Torres, the gratitude specialist. So I knew what I needed to do, but it's almost like you just can't get there. Right. And so I grabbed an old journal from TJ Maxx or something. And I just started beginning to write down everything that I was grateful for. Every morning and every night, 3 things in the morning and 3 things at night that I was grateful for. And sometimes it was just the sun is out or I can breathe today. Like sometimes it was just
Sure.
little minute things. But after that, I said to myself, you know what, if I need this, there's other people who need this too. Maybe I should write a book. And I went, oh, my story is not ready yet. Like I'm in the middle of my darkness right now. I can't write a book. Well, I started writing it actually, and I started to put it on the back burner. And it's still there. It's called An Army Wife Behind Closed Doors. It's still there. It's just not finished yet. But my first book, I wanted it to be something that was meaningful and something that was going to be able to help the world. And at the time, I didn't know that the world was going to go into quarantine. But on March 17th of 2020, the day the world went under quarantine, I launched my first book, and it was the Gratitude Journal. And it's a 365-day journal that you start every day with a scripture, you end every evening with a quote, and it's morning and nighttime devotions. And I knew that that was what it was supposed to be. I knew that this was what needed to be. And on the day that the world went under quarantine, the day that the world needed positivity, the day that the world needed gratitude, my book hit #1 bestseller in 3 countries and stood there for 16 weeks. And emails and Instagrams and all this stuff started coming through, right? Like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. I love your journal. It's so pretty. I almost don't want to write in it. Like, I'm like, well, write in it, please. All these things started coming through, and I was like, oh, wow. And then we started the talk show. And during the talk show, I kind of thought, you know what? I want to get a course out there. So I launched my course, Connection to Client Blueprint, where I took you from meeting the client to selling to the client to now using them as a referral source. And that's what I did all my life. And so that's where Beyond Gratitude book came into play. And I launched that on December 30th of 2020. So 2 books the same year, and both of them hit #1 bestseller. My story is not done. Your story is not done, but you have a story. You have a story from then until now, and people need to know that. So if you do have a story, if you do have a book in your head, you don't have to wait until your story is perfect, because let me tell you, your story is never going to be perfect. And, just like with Christina, 2-3 years ago, I met her and she was living in Canada, about to go through an apple orchard selling wine. And
Selling
now
cider, yeah.
Right. Like now she's living in Cabo, so much different, right? Like it could change. And so you do have a story. And 3 years ago, Christina had a story, and then she has a story now. And I am going to try to get that story out of her, though. Just to let you know, a little sneak peek.
We'll get there.
Right. So you do have a story, and you can't wait until your story is perfect for you to share it with the world, because you are always 2 or 3 streets ahead of somebody else.
Yeah. And can we also say, like, not everybody dreams of writing a book. If you dream of writing a book, you were meant to write a book, right? Some people say it's intuition.
Yeah.
Some people say that's the voice of the Holy Spirit. Like that's what is guiding you, and that you were meant to do that. If that's in your thought and in your mind, it is not there by accident.
Yeah.
Right? Somebody needs to hear from you.
And everybody does have a story, and it's just another income stream. And I know you are a huge component of multiple income streams. Mm-hmm. So it's just another income stream. So if you're a coach, it doesn't have to be your story. It could be your course in a book. Mm-hmm. If you're a coach, whatever you're teaching, you can put your steps in a book. Or, you can have a collab book. You can have your top 10 coaches say, listen, let's do a collab book, and, we'll start this. And you come to me and I help you do all of that. But so it doesn't have to be your story, but your story does need to be told. And everyone has a story, no matter how small or how big. You heard mine. I had divorce and army and abuse and physical abuse and narcissism and,
abandonment,
abandonment, like all these things, right? So, but if you think about it, so many other people do too. And so when I share my story and people are like, oh my gosh, you're going to hit like half the audience. I'm like, I usually hit about 90% because who do you know that has not been affected by a divorce or a job loss or empty nesting? That is a huge thing, let me tell you. And I'm 48 years old. And when my youngest left, I felt like I had nothing left. And mind you, I didn't go through a divorce too, but I felt like I wasn't a wife no more, and I wasn't a mom no more. And I was like, oh my God, who am I? And I know so many people go through that. And we need to start talking about that. And somebody needs to hear your story about how you got through it. Because if you got through it, I can get through it. If you got through it, then we can get through it. If she got through it, then you can get through it. And if we don't share our story, and we don't tell people our story and how we, whatever it was, it got ourselves out of that pit, nobody else is going to realize that they can do it too.
Well, and the fact that yours is a done for you, like you'll help people develop the story, you'll have conversations with them, they go write the book, you do the editing, you do the design, you help them get it out there for printing, you help them like launch it as a #1 bestseller. Like you do all of the steps. And most people, by the way, that are in, you know, the coaching space or in that space where they want to write a book, they want that best-selling author title because it gives them credibility. And the fact that you can, I won't say guarantee it, but the fact that you have a very good
bestseller, I just don't guarantee #1 bestseller.
But like, you know, the fact that you can guarantee that as a bestseller, like that's pretty incredible, especially if that's the project that you're working on and that's the one that you want to, you know, that you're focused on for the year. So I think that that is an incredible gift.
And it does give you credibility. Like as soon as you say #1 best-selling author, they're like, oh, look, Tina's there, #1 best-selling author. Oh. I like, and I'm like, wait, and I've
same Tina,
and I've noticed it, right? Like, put my stance out there. I've noticed it. People are like, oh, oh, wow, and I'm like, yes, it's that title.
Yeah.
And it's so weird to listen to people do that from, you know, before you were a best-selling author to, you know, you're a best-selling author now. So the surprised looks that you get, and it is that credibility. You're now a best-selling author, you're now a subject matter expert, you're now that person that people are going to want to go to. And now guess what, now you're going to get clients from the book. You're going to get clients because you're a #1 best-selling author, and people are going to want to do business with you because you know what you're doing.
Well, and that's just it. Like, it's so funny that it instantly gives you credibility. Like you're the same person, but all of a sudden it's on paper. And you know what's really interesting? And so, you know, my dad, I didn't really talk to my parents about writing the books that I did or collaborating. And I ended up, my dad's like, so you wrote a book? I'm like, yeah, well, I wrote a chapter in a book. And so I gave him the book to read. And he read it and he called me and he said, I feel like I don't even know who you are. Like, this is you? This is you? And I was like, this is me. He's like, how did you become this person? Like, and it's like, all of that is up here. And do you know how many people in your circle don't realize the knowledge and the value that you have because you haven't put it down on paper? You haven't put it out on social media. You haven't taught it in a course or taught it to a group of people. Like, your life experience is so freaking valuable to the people that have not been through what you've been through already. And this is what I'm preaching and like yelling from the top of the rooftop is like, look, in this world right now where chat GPT, AI can write posts, can write books, can write songs, can write raps, you know, can do all that kind of stuff. Your uniqueness and your life experience and how you show up, that is what's going to make you different than everybody else on this planet. That's what's going to make you stand out. That's the thing that's going to actually help people, because it won't just be the mundane same. It'll be like, wow, she actually gets it. And I just had this conversation a couple of days ago with somebody because I said to them, had I not been through a miscarriage or a couple of miscarriages myself, I wouldn't have the empathy if somebody told me they had a miscarriage. If I'd never experienced that or never had kids, like people that have never had kids, they can kind of conceptualize what it's like to be a parent, but they'll never understand until you go through it. right? And so that experience, the life experience, the unique life experience that you have gives you perspective and an authority to help other people go through it when you've learned how to get yourself out of it.
And not necessarily that you're the expert, because you're not a subject matter expert at having miscarriage, but you've had them.
That's right.
And so when you share your story and people are in the audience, and you say something about a miscarriage and they just had one, they're like, oh, now I relate to you.
Now we're connected.
And so now we're connected. And now I want to listen to what you just said. Before, you were just somebody's speaker on there, but now that you just said something about something that I've been through, and now you get me, and now we're friends, now I want to pay attention to what you're doing and pay what you're saying, so it's that relatability. And you sharing your story, just think of all the people, if you shared your story, your best friend knows you, right? But if you share your story, like your best friend knows your story to somebody else, think of all the things that you would be able to help people with.
Yeah, it would change everything.
Yeah, all the things that you have gone through. And then they're looking at you going, oh my God, Christina, I never knew. And now I have more connection to you. Now I even want to have a business with you. Now I really want to join your business with you. You know what I mean? Like, because because you're relatable. And one of the things that I like to tell my clients, and one of the things that I got into in my gratitude book is, Tina, when I read your book, I felt like you and I were sitting at a coffee table or on a couch, and you were just chatting with me, because I say, hey girl, hey doll, grab your cup of coffee, let's sit down, let's chat. And I talk to you like I talk to everybody. And that's one of the things that I tell my clients is I don't let you lose your voice in your book. So if that's how you want to speak, that's how it's going to be portrayed in the book. We're not going to, I'm not a speaker. I'm not even an author. I don't know how to write. That's why I have an editor on my team, that makes, and I tell them, listen, I want to say, hey girl and hey doll and things like that.
And you can.
Because it's my book, and she's like, Tina, I feel like I'm listening to you because this is how you talk. And another thing, when I had the morning show and people would meet me in person, they would always go, oh my gosh, you're like the same person on TV that you are in live person. And I'm like, why wouldn't I be? Like, I'm authentic everywhere I go. This is how, if you met me, this is how I am. Like, I don't have this like fake personality on the talk show where, as to having conversation with you, or if I went down to Cabo, which is going to happen in a few weeks, or maybe a few months, this is our conversation.
This is how we talk. This is how we talk.
And this is how I want people to talk to their readers.
Yeah.
Talk to them like they're your best friend. Like, you
talk
can
to them like they know you or you know them, right? Because it changes the dynamic, and that vulnerability piece is your super connector. Like, it absolutely, there's not a lot of people that have the courage and the bravery to just be vulnerable, because a lot of the times the things that we're most vulnerable about, we're also shameful of because they were really hard. Right.
Oh, yes. I was so ashamed of telling people that I was in a marriage for 20 years, getting abused physically, getting cheated on, because you have those people are like, why did you stay?
Judge you for that, right?
But just like with you wouldn't know how to get through this and what I went through unless you have been there.
That's right. That's right. And that's why, it's such an interesting, social media is such an interesting thing, because we're constantly getting these judgments from people. But what people don't realize as they're judging, or like that I know, like when I'm judging somebody else, it comes from my lens, from my filter, from my life experience. So whatever judgment I'm casting or putting out there is really just a reflection of me. Right. And so people don't realize that when they're putting it out there, and that it doesn't really matter what anybody else thinks or how anybody else sees you. It matters how you feel and how you react.
Yeah.
Right?
And you got to understand too, everybody, I judge people all the time. You prejudge people, you're like, oh.
It's part of how we do. It's part of how we're human, is that we use judgments to keep ourselves safe.
Right. And just like, I had a client a couple of months ago who called me, who was like, oh my gosh, I'm in, I want to do this. I just need to get the money. And I'm like, okay. And kind of let it slide. The next day, she was like, I'm ready. And she goes, I just got 2 credit cards and I got a small loan from my mom and I have the money. And I dismissed her. And she
Wow.
was like, I was like, wow, can I just can I just say that I am impressed? She goes, Tina, when I want to do something, I want to do it. And I'm not going to stop myself.
When
And
people, yes,
she's
when
about to
people are
launch her book.
committed, when
Yeah.
people are committed to what they're doing and are convicted in what their message is, then they'll figure it out. That's in every circumstance, in every time, in every place. So Tina, if people want to find you, and then we'll tell them what we're up to, maybe. But like, if people want to find you, where can they locate you? How can they connect with you? What's the best way to reach you?
Well, I do have a little free workbook, and it's 10 steps to becoming a bestseller. So if you go to 120 days to bestseller.com, so 120 days to bestseller.com, you can grab that free workbook. And I'm the gratitude specialist all over all the social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. So just make sure you follow me, because I put tips and valuable information and videos and all that kind of good stuff all over my social media, like you should too. So if you're listening and you don't put valuable stuff on there and just stay on sell, make sure you put valuable, your tips, your, who you are. In fact, everybody thinks that I have a big, huge office, Christina, like huge office. So I just snapped a couple behind the scenes photos of my office here. And people are like, what? Exactly.
I'm literally in my living room right now.
Yes.
So
with your kid, like coming and you're going, stay out of the camera.
Of course, Monday is a day off school, right? Like, when's it not?
Well, she just wants to be famous like her mommy.
She does. So they can find her on social media. And then do you want to plant a little seed about what we're up to in the next month or so?
Yes. So I have a question for your audience. Do you wish that you could have like a best friend? So like, with me, I was in my dark space, I probably wouldn't get online and, tell people that, but I would have called my best friend, and I tried to a couple times. And they did answer, but sometimes, and you just sit there and you're scrolling through social media, and sometimes you just feel like you're just not good enough. Sometimes you feel like what she's doing, I can't do, because she's living in freaking Cabo, and look at her lifestyle and da. But then you talk to them and they start opening up, like, about your miscarriage and about this and about how this didn't work and that didn't work. And I used to be a bartender, and I'm like, what? I remember one time you had a picture on social media and it was showing your thigh tattoo. And I said, Christina, is that a tattoo on your thigh? And you were like, yep. And I was like, I love you even more now.
My mom always said you can get as many tattoos as you want as long as I can't see them in your wedding dress. And so I have a massive tattoo that was covered by my wedding dress.
I love it. And it's just those things. So,
right.
I just wanted something to be able to, a platform to be able to share all these experiences, all the things that we go through as women, as men, as 40 and ups, even if you're not 40, menopause stuff. And let me just tell you, I'm in the dating world and it sucks. So if you're married, stay married unless they're hurting you. Jesus.
Fix it. Just fix it. Figure it out.
They don't want to pull the toilet seat down. Leave it up, because it is not all rainbows and unicorns.
Oh my God. We're going to have so much fun
on this side of things. So, as you know, I was a morning talk show host for many years, and it was syndicated on 8 different platforms to 500 million people. And over the last couple of months, God has been convicting me of all of these things that we don't talk about, right? The real, the raw, the unplugged things that you don't talk about, except for maybe to your best friend. Oh my God.
I just got goosebumps. I just want you to know that's the name. I got goosebumps.
Oh my God, I couldn't get out of bed today, which was me. I was like, I stayed in bed. Let me just tell you, I stayed in bed all weekend long. Yes, I did. I stayed in bed all weekend long. I did take a shower, I think, on Saturday, but I did stay in bed all weekend long in my sweats, in my hoodie, watching Scandal, not doing anything at all productive.
I'm so jealous.
And I told you,
like, I'm legit so
we got on
jealous
here, right?
that you had nothing else you had
allowed
to do.
this. But why do we feel guilty for
I know.
doing that? You know,
I know.
so I have picked some amazing people, and your audience is going to be probably the first people to know this. Do you want to tell them?
Oh my gosh, we're gonna do a show. We're gonna do a show with a couple of other people as well. And we're gonna give it to you all, real, raw, and unplugged, because it's not sunshine and rainbows every time. It's not a straight climb up. There are days that I've wanted to quit. There are days that I've cried to my husband and not been able to shut up about a certain issue for 2 weeks because I'm processing it.
Yeah.
There are those things that are really difficult that we don't talk about, and we want to start talking about them because there's a lot of people out there counting themselves out, thinking that they're not good enough, they're not worthy, they don't know enough, and that they shouldn't have to go through any of this adversity that we're all going through. Well, I can't do that now because I'm getting divorced. I can't do that now because, you know, I'm having issues with my kids. I can't do that now because I don't have time. And I've got all this, I'm moving countries. I can't do that now. Right. But we all have a choice, and we're going to open up with you, from all of our different perspectives, all of our different accomplishments, and share with you what it takes to build something significant and something great.
Yeah. And I mean, even all of us, we're not at that point where we're like, you know what, we're great. Everything is perfect.
If I ever arrive to that point, just kick my heels out from underneath me. Okay.
Like, no. Because when you get like, so say, you know, with us, I have something in my eyeball. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to get it out. Like with us, I want to get to my first six figures. You get there and you're like, okay, now what? Now 7. Oh.
And then what? Then what? Now, okay, now what?
Okay,
Next.
now what? Now you're going to go to 8. Oh my God.
Faster?
I'm already working like, 24 hours a day already.
And is that really what you want? So many people, like how many women have you talked to that hit that 7-figure business and then want to build an 8-figure business? Because obviously that's next. After you buy a house, you have kids, and then the kids get married, and it's just how things are supposed to be. And then they're like, wait a second, this isn't the life that I wanted.
Yes.
This isn't what I wanted. I have all of these things and all these responsibilities and less time with more money. Yes. No, my friends, you get to decide. Yeah. You get to decide. The life you get.
You scale, right? That's where you scale and you hire and you do this and you know,
yes.
That's where a book comes in too, because when you write the book, you're going to get royalties for the rest of your life. You're going to do it one time, just like network marketing, right? You're going to do it one time and you're going to get benefits for the rest of your life. You're going to write a book one time to share your story, and you're going to get royalties for the rest of your life. When you die, you're going to get royalties. And I talked to, me and Christina have had many conversations over the past couple of months about this. And it's sad because every single day I go through social media and I'm a victim of it too. I mean, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's living the lifestyle that she has like this perfect life, and her husband is always amazing, and she always has flowers in her house, and her husband must buy her flowers. And then, they took a trip to, Cabo, and they went here and they did this. And I'm like, oh, and then I talked to her and she's like, oh, my husband and I are getting a divorce. And
that's not us, by the way. I want to be clear. She's not talking about us.
Well, I mean, if he is leaving, then I can come, and it doesn't matter. No.
There's more room. No,
it's not anybody. It's just
right.
Because you start thinking that these people are living this gorgeous life and this lifestyle that you've always dreamed of, right? And I want to be that real person, and I want to come to you and to our audience to let them know that we have all struggled. I mean, Christina, I know if I tell you, give me 2 times that you have been living paycheck to paycheck and not knowing if you can pay the rent, you can tell me 2 times exactly. And immediately what happened? Because that's where a lot of people are right now. They don't know how they're going to pay rent on April 1st. You know what I mean? And even with us, with coaches and high-end coaches, and we still struggle. We struggle with imposter syndrome, huge with imposter syndrome. Who am I? Nobody's going to want to know my story. My story is not done yet. Nobody's going to know this. No, who wants this? Who wants somebody to write a book for them? 27 other people just did.
And they
I
all
thought the
are
same to
number one
myself.
best-selling authors.
Yeah, right. And I said the same thing to myself. I started helping somebody and we kind of were working together. And then one of my girlfriends was like, if you don't start your own package and add this and add this and add this. And so I went to my client list and I said, okay, what do you want? You know what I wish you had in there? I wish you had coaching and accountability in there because that would have kept me on track. I'm like, really? Yeah. I added coaching and accountability weekly, 1 hour coaching. I wish you would have done my landing page and all that kind of tech stuff in the background because I hate doing that. Okay, we added that to the package. So these, even people like us who are making, 6 and 7 figures, there's things that we don't like to do. There's things
100%.
There's things that we don't know how to do, and you have those people, maybe like 10 or less, maybe 5 or less for some
in your circle.
Yeah. In your circle that you open up to and that you share your experiences with. And so Real Raw and Unplugged is going to be that for you guys. It's going to be,
I can't wait.
Christina is married with a young child living in Cabo. I am single, divorced, empty nesting, living in Atlanta. And we have a young man, well, he's my age, I think 48, married with small kids and older kids, and he's been married and divorced and remarried, so a blended family. And then we have another lady in California who blended family and small kids and older, so it's like a bunch of different people from different backgrounds, different worlds, different stereotypes, different things that have happened to them, all coming to one to give you, your audience, those people who are going to watch us, that inclination that they can do this too, no matter what they're going through. If they're in a dark pit, we can get you out of it. If you're going through a divorce, we can help you get through it because we've been there. If you
want to live in another country,
if you want to move to Cabo and just travel the world down to Cabo, then Christina and her husband can help you do that. Because
it's going to be awesome.
Seriously, that is like, I'm like, so did you just take a moving van and take it all down there? She's like, yep. And I went, huh.
Yeah, we bought a trailer and put all of our worldly belongings in a 5 by 8 foot trailer. And there is nothing as humbling as doing that.
Oh, see, I think that's the thing that's going to be me. That's going to be me.
It's exciting. You actually feel a lot lighter.
I've heard that.
A lot lighter.
Yeah. So Real Raw Unplugged. We don't have an exact launch date. We're going to be talking later on this week with the other members and get a good date and time for this to go live. But it's going to be a once a week talk show podcast. And you guys are going to be the first to know about it.
Can't wait. Thank you, Tina, so much for being here today. I appreciate you. I love you. I'm so excited to partner with you and collab with you. And if you need to get a hold of Tina because you have a book in your heart, please do, because she is an absolute gem and a rock star, and she will work with you every step of the way. And that's what you need in this industry. So thank you so much, Tina, for being here today.
Thank you, guys.